I want to start this lesson by giving all glory, honor, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rekah, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles and teachers and wise men of great millstone that I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Salutations out there to the elect. All right, so I'm going to start this lesson by letting the video play to get some context, and then we'll get a few scriptures and close out.
More American women are giving birth after age 40, rising 318% over the last 4 decades.
And the truth of the matter is that we're not seeing younger women have babies in large rates the way that they were having them, because having children is incredibly expensive.
All of it opening up a conversation about women getting pregnant later in life, including the risks.
Those risks can include anything like high blood pressure during the pregnancy, any gestational diabetes, any issues with the actual labor process, and actual things such as premature birth and decreased birth weight.
Don't ask me how I did it, I just did it. It was hard.
But it's not just celebrities. More and more women have taken to social media to share their experiences about becoming a mom later in life. Patty Avery Schmidt had 3 sons in her 20s and then says she struggled with infertility. Nearly 2 decades later, she had a daughter at age 45. And now more than 1 million people keep up with her family on TikTok and Instagram, where at times she claps back at those who criticize her for having a baby later in life.
The most carefully made plans can be completely out of our control, and it's mind-boggling to me that anyone could think a child has more or less right to exist based on the age of her mother.
Doctors caution a pregnancy in your 40s is never a given.
The natural likelihood of, conception, it starts to drop around age 37.
Sometimes
Which is a lie, because the Lord has power to make all things possible. You see, age doesn't matter, because there are plenty of examples in the scriptures to where a woman's womb was barren, but the Lord opened the woman's womb and allowed her to become pregnant. So let's get a few examples of that. All right, this is Genesis. As a matter of fact, let's get 3 examples of that. This is Genesis 29 and 31. It says, "And the Lord saw that Leah was hated, and he opened her womb. But Rachel was barren," you see. So Rachel couldn't have any kids. But the Lord opened the womb of Leah, one of Jacob's wives. As a matter of fact, let's read this in the NLT. All right, it says, "When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he enabled her to have kids." You see, the Lord has power to open up a woman's womb at any age. But Rachel could not conceive, so the Lord shut up her womb. All right, now let's skip over to Genesis 30. And let's scroll down to, let's see, Genesis 30 and 22. It says, "And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened unto her," because Rachel wanted to have kids. Remember, her womb was barren. She couldn't conceive. "And opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God have taken away my reproach." You see? So the Lord has power to open up the womb of a woman so she can have kids at any age. Let's read this in the NLT. "She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. God has removed my disgrace." You see? It's all through the power of the Lord. Let's get this precept. This is Deuteronomy 32 and 39. It says, "See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound." You see? "I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand." So a woman's womb is obviously controlled by the Lord, because the Lord has power to shut up a woman's womb. The Lord has power to cause her to be born. so she can't conceive, or he can open up her womb at any given time. You see? So these doctors, or whatever they are, that they're wrong. They don't know the power of the Lord.
Conceiving later in a woman's life means using donor eggs or IVF treatments.
These types of procedures can be quite costly. However, what we are starting to see is insurance companies and also companies are looking to cover some of these costs, whether that's with the actual procedure or the medications that are used.
For Deirdre Diener, all of the risks and costs were worth it. We first met her in 2019 as she was going through IVF at age 44, using donor eggs.
I have waited my whole life, and I'm starting to get really nervous.
Deirdre spent her 20s and 30s climbing the corporate ladder, but the marketing exec says she also had ambitions about becoming a mother, so she decided to do it on her own as a single mom. Let's talk about the financial burden, because thank goodness you had the means, but this is cost prohibitive for a lot of people.
Here's where my career actually worked in my favor. I was able to afford pretty much everything because I had worked so hard. I had set aside funds. So when they had said this is going to be about $15,000, I was lucky enough to be able to proceed with that.
10 days after her IVF procedure, Deirdre got the phone call she'd been waiting for.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh.
You are pregnant.
Now, Deirdre is 51 and a mother to 7-year-old Kelsey.
Happy birthday to you.
You see, and a lot of people in the world, they trust in science, not knowing that the Lord is the reason for all of this. Science is false when the Lord has all power. You see, a lot of people put their trust in science, but the Lord has the power to open up a womb and to allow women to have kids. Let's get another example of Sarah and Abraham. Because Sarah, she was, let's see. Yeah, this is Genesis 17. Or Sarai. Before her name was Sarah, her name was Sarai. Let's see. Let's start at verse. This is verse. This is the Lord. Okay, let's start at verse. So, like, bear with me. Verse 1, it says, and Abram was 90 years old, was 99 years old, or was 99 years old. And the Lord appeared unto Abram, who's Abraham. Before his name was Abraham, it was Abram. And said unto him, I am the almighty power. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. Let's scroll down. Verse 6, and I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. You're going to have a lot of kids. Or your seed is going to be multiplied. You see? It says, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in the generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto them. So like to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Let's scroll down. Salakia. This is let's get to the point. This is verse 17. It says, then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? You see? So they didn't believe that the Lord could open up a woman's womb at any time. Verse 18, and Abraham said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. You see? All right, let's scroll down. Let's see. Did she conceive? Let's see. Which is the answer is obviously yes, but Salakia. But I just want to read it. All right, this is verse. Salakia. Verse 10, and he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. This is the angel that visited Abraham. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and stricken in age. And it ceased to be with Sarah after the manners of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxen old, shall I have pleasure, O my Lord, being old also? So she didn't believe either. And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Verse 14, is anything too hard for the Lord? You see? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. All right, let's scroll down. Salakia, bear with me. All right, let's scroll down. Let's go to verse 19. Salakia, let's get it. Sarah. That's verse 19. Just get to the point. Salakia, bear with me. All right. And here's another example, verse Genesis 20 and 18. For the Lord hath fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. See, showing you what? That the Lord has power to close up a woman's womb. All right. Verse Genesis 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in her old age, at the set time which God had spoken to him. You see, so Sarah bare the child, showing you what? That the Lord wounds and he heals. You see, so if a woman has a child, the Lord obviously has something to do with it. He opened up her womb. Men rely on science and, science, because science is just, it's not real power, but the Lord controls all things.
My favorite thing in my life, full stop, end of story, is being a mother to this child. It's just what really energizes me in life and really gives me a purpose in my life.
Deirdre believes there are some benefits to being a mother later in life.
One of the things that I have an advantage is that I'm trying to really prioritize the time, the moments. I was grinding when I was in my 20s and 30s in my career. I think if I had her then, it would be different because I was in that position. Now I feel like, I am able to balance a lot more.
Deirdre hopes her story could inspire others who might fear it's too late for them.
If you truly want to be a parent, just be open open-minded about how you get there. There's opportunity to be able to do this in your 40s and having success later in life in becoming parents. So just go for it. If this is your...
It's never too late to have kids. The Lord opened up these women's womb and he closes the woman's womb, not science. You see, because the Lord controls all things. So I'll end with this scripture right here in the book of Romans 9. This is Romans 9 and 15. For he said unto Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. Verse 16. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of the Lord that showeth mercy. So the Lord showed mercy to all those women. That's why their womb was open and they had kids, not because of science. Don't let Esau fool you. Don't let these devils fool you thinking that science is the reason why they had those kids or why their womb was open. It's the Lord. So it is the Lord who decides to show mercy. We can neither choose it nor work for it, you see. So the Lord showed mercy to these women, all of them in this video. That's why they were able to have kids at their ages. So I'll end the lesson here. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Rekak Wadash. Shalom.